Hello, hello, and welcome to the conversation with leaders. And I am so excited. These conversations on leadership and engagement is just becoming just a great platform for people to really understand leadership. My name is Sharon Johnson, and I'm the host of this conversation. What is the purpose? The purpose of these conversations is to, and it is the purpose of Comtivate, it is to help leaders and all individuals maximize their potential, enhance and add value to the lives of others. And in doing these conversations, I am learning so much from folks who are in leadership. But today, I get the opportunity to talk to one of my very own, to explore leadership once again, to bring to you these conversations. And I get the chance to speak to Dr. Heather Marie all the way from Chicago. So thank you, Dr. Heather, for being on the conversations. I want you to tell folks who you are, and I want to say thank you so much for joining me in these conversations. Let's hear about you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Let's see. So where do I start? I am a emergency medicine physician. I've been at the University of Illinois. Going on June will be, believe it or not, 23 years. And I'm the vice chair of the department there. And I'm also one of the associate deans of clinical affairs for the college. So pretty busy professional career, but very, very rewarding. So I'm looking forward to talking a lot about leadership. And it is so important, especially in this day and age. And what we're dealing with now, it makes it even more important that we have the right individuals at the right place at the right time.
Wow. So we know we're going to learn so much from you because not only you're involved in just the emergency room itself, taking care of people, and just thank you. Let me just say this before we continue. Thank you so much for your commitment to healthcare. You're on the front line every single day, and I just have no words. I can't imagine what it is like, but what I know is that you're on the front line, you're taking care of people, you're taking care of your family, you're building the community, you're educating other leaders to become leaders like yourself. So with that, thank you for your commitment, your dedication, and definitely living out your dreams, especially in a time like this. So I have a lot of questions for you.
All
And
right, let's go.
so I love leadership, right? I'm passionate about leadership as the CEO of Comtivate and doing leadership as an engagement coach. I find that leadership affects all platforms of our lives. It's not like you're a leader here and you're not a leader over there. And it comes in so many shapes and form. And today, as a medical professional, you see leadership probably very different from a lot of leaders. So my question for you is, why is leadership so important, so significant in the medical field, and especially at a time like this?
Okay, so for me, leadership has always been about a mindset, right? And so I think that it's not so much, I think if your mind, I once heard this, I was actually taking an exercise class, and someone said, we spend a lot of time trying to get stronger, but really understand that the mind is the strongest muscle that you have. And so, and that really stuck with me. And because it's so true. And it's like leadership for me has always been about a mindset, right? And so I think that when that's your approach and that's your frame, you can lead from anywhere, any situation that you're in. If you have the right mindset, you can be a leader. It doesn't matter what the circumstances. It's all about the mindset. And so I think that has been very helpful to shape my approach to leadership. And I think, for leadership for me is very personal, especially in the medical field, because there's not a lot of, I think representation matters. And I think that, I've always wanted to be a good role model. And when people see, I think actions have to match words. And I think definitely, I've been blessed to have a lot of opportunities where I can give back to the community. And that's where I find that's where I get my encouragement. I get my strength to continue on. And yes, I look at and this is a great example of why I think leadership is being at the right place at the right time with the right leaders. despite what we're seeing on a national platform, I can tell you that, I'm at an institution where part of our mission as a institution, as the enterprise is, giving back to the community. It's about, you know, eliminating health disparities, right? And so when you have an entire organization that is the mindset, that is where we're aligned, it's great. It's a wonderful environment, right? So, I'm just right after this call, I'm going to be talking about some opportunities for us to do things in the community to kind of, one, get testing for COVID-19 to some of our underrepresented communities where there are high rates. So this is just an example of, these opportunities are presenting themselves because we have the right leadership in place. And I really am really blessed. And I say that, I don't say it lightly. I am really blessed to be a leader, to have over the years developed qualities and that enable me to be a good, effective leader.
Wow,
I know that was a long answer, but you
that,
can see I'm very passionate about it.
and I can see the passion exuding from you with that. And that's what it is. Great leaders are passionate about what they do because they're operating in their purpose. And we see a lot of time, John Maxwell talks about everything rise and fall with leadership. And even with leading, being the vice chair of academics and leading people and teaching people to become and to be passionate about their position, I'm sure that takes a lot about your leadership. But I want to touch base on something that you said about, testing for COVID-19. So I know that you're right there in the front of it. You're seeing it face to face. If you could tell me maybe a minute about what is it like? And I just thought about that question actually, like, what is it like in the emergency room in the midst of everything and you see leadership goes into effect? Do you see that happening?
Yeah, so as this is brand new for everyone, right? So this is the coronavirus is appropriately named novel because we've not seen it before. And so, there's always a bit of fear around the uncertain, right? And so I think that, as this has been unfolding, as a leader in the emergency department, I have a whole team that's looking to me for guidance, right? And so I think that it's really about, understanding how to meet the needs of our patients and protect ourselves, right? Because we know that this is a very contagious virus. And, so I think it was a bit unsettling, but then I had to and for me, I draw a lot of strength from, I'm a person of faith. And so, I have an amazing circle of friends who, I'm like, okay, you know what? We made the decision to, go to a certain work schedule so that we kind of rotate in and out. And there was some apprehension, but then I said, you know what, this, I fully embrace, I love my job and I'm called to do this at this time, right? So the virus caught us off guard, but God, this wasn't a surprise to God, right? And so I think we're all equipped. I had to remind myself I'm trained and I'm covered by the blood of Jesus. And then I just take it to work. And that's my mindset every single day. Just so, you know what, I'm covered.
Wow. I know you're covered. And I may have shared this with you because I belong to the John Maxwell team and a group called the Empowered Living Team. And so at one point we shared your picture of you in the emergency room, all covered up and everything. And I was just overwhelmed at the amount of people who are praying for you. So I want you to know that there is a massive people on the John Maxwell team, Paul Martinelli and the Rudder Golfer team, all across this world, not just in America, who is praying for you and thanking you for what you do. I have another question for you.
Yes.
So we know they're leaders and they're leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we see leadership in all kinds of ways. If you could just jump in and just, what's the difference between a leader and a real leader? Because sometimes people are struggling that area, like, is that person a real leader? What would you say about that?
I think, I think real leadership is seen in your actions, right? So do you lead by, how is your leadership style, right? So to me, I really I like to be a part of the team, right? I'm not just gonna tell somebody how to do something. I want to be in there. We're doing it together, right? And so with even within the team, that's just my leadership style. I don't want people to follow me. I want them to come with me, right? And so that is my that's how I approach it, right? So you're not you I would no one would ever accuse me of just leading by words and not by action. Come on, we going together. We doing this.
Do you find people tend to either just want to be with you when you say come with me instead of follow me?
Yeah, no, I do, and in fact, I think because people want to be included. I mean, that's just a human nature. Our our makeup is to be inclusive, right? To be to be appreciated, and so I think when people see that what, this is a team effort. I think there's more motivation, and I prefer someone to be you know to do things because they want to do it, not because they're it's a chore, right? Because if it doesn't come out one way, it's going to come out another way. And and so I think for the most part, that's the way I try to inspire people around me to to that we're doing this together. We're this is I try to get alignment around a direction, right? So I'll never just spring anything on anybody. I'm like, this is what we're gonna do. What's your thoughts about it? And let's just do it. Let's go. So that's just my approach.
Wonderful. Wow. I mean, I would just love to be a fly on the wall watching you lead. So, so we know a lot of times, and again, passion shows up in a leader all the time. So me being extremely passionate about leadership, just studying leadership, and you're on the medical side of it, and just being on the other side of leadership, leading people and working with people, I see a lot of times that leaders, and John Maxwell, being with the John Maxwell team, I've learned that leaders got to show up. Leaders got to show up. They've got to show up early. They've got to be there to take the team, like you're saying, to say, come with me, follow me here. And I hear you say something very clear that it's always in my mind about clarity, right? Some of what you've said about clarity, being able to say to the team, here's what we're doing, here's where we're going, right? And so leaders need to know what direction. They need
Right.
to have open door so that people, they build relationships. I hear you said something about the community. And even with communities, people follow our leadership depending on the relationship that we have in communities. Would you say that's correct?
Absolutely. You can't be an effective leader without, great communication skills. And, especially when you're, and what we do, a lot of what I do in my research or, in my outreach to communities, and I don't really like to necessarily call it research, but it's really what I look at is how do I empower communities? So that is what, to because I believe that I really believe that healthcare is a right. It's not a privilege.
Mhm.
Everyone is and we have issues of health equity in this country, and it takes some people say, oh well, no, one person can't change. Yeah, one person plus one person plus one person can make a change. So I think community and communication have to be connected for you to have good relationships and to be effective in leading, right? So you can't people can't people won't you can't be a leader if you can't communicate a vision. You can't communicate a direction that you want, an outcome. So people have to be able to see something, or at least have a vision of what you're trying to accomplish. And sometimes it may be clear to us, but if we don't make it clear to those around us or those who we're trying to engage with, then it's likely to be very short-lived and short-sighted.
Wow. So I love picking out words as people talk, and I'm listening to you, and you said community and communication. And before I go to the next question, because you use that language, I just want to ask you to, if you could define communities and communication, because I could almost see how that envelopes in the emergency room or in the medical field. Can you just give me another definition of that? What do you mean? So for those who are listening, you can really, really understand the impact of that.
Right. So, in terms of, so for example, let me think of an example. So I think that so when there's a lot of, with social media, I think medical practice is competing with Google, social media, and all these different, people get a lot before they come to the emergency department. They've probably gotten 5, 6, 7, 8 opinions, or from either, from, technology or social media. And so I think that, when, for me, I always feel that people understand better if you could communicate to them clearly, right? And so when I often share personal stories, right? When I'm trying to, talk to a patient about, why it's important to stop smoking, or why this is, very harmful to them, or, I often, will mention about my dad, and having died from heart failure, so I like to share those things, because so they understand the place that I'm coming from. I'm telling you something that I would say to my own family, or to my own, and I think that helps in terms of building that community and that communication, right? Because really, at the end of the day, I want people to feel after that, when they leave the emergency department, that they're empowered to do to take better care of their health, right? That, many times I've heard people say, well, it's in my genes, oh, my parents had this is this, it's an inevitable. And I like to tell people that, risk factors aren't you may have a risk factor, but that doesn't mean that doesn't equate with automatically getting something, right? It just puts you it is what it is, a risk factor. But, people, we are more empowered than we sometimes believe. And so I like to always empower my patients to believe that, what, this is something that I can do. This is not pie in the sky. This is obtainable. But there may be things that they need to do, and we can walk through that. But I think communication and community go hand in hand, because if you don't have those two, you can't build credibility. And if you're not a credible leader, if people don't have faith in what you're telling them, then they're less likely to, take you seriously, or even take what you say to heart.
Right. Thank you for expounding on that. I'm sure that it spells a lot for others. So here's what I know. You're a big reader. I don't know how you find the time. I know you love to exercise. I know you love to do a lot of fun stuff. You love to explore the world. And so a lot of people are, even now, so we see people just, we're all inside. We can't go anywhere except for essential workers like yourself and others who are going out there and facing that invisible enemy. But people need to do some things. Maybe it's a scripture, maybe it's a book, maybe it's a quote. And if you want to talk about what you do to maintain your sanity, and then share with folks who are listening that when they're finished here, the takeaway from this conversation is that they will live a different life. And they will be able to look back and say, you know what, I heard Dr. Heather Marie Prendergast that day and my life has changed. So how do you live yours, and what would you recommend to others?
So a big part of my day is spent giving to others, but I always find time to do something for myself, right? Because I think that, and for me, like this morning is a great example. So I have a fairly full day today. And so, but I knew there were things that I had to get done, right? And so, if it meant, getting up at 6 o'clock to work out for an hour. And so that's that's what I do for myself, right? Even if it's not, not every day is, a strenuous work. This morning it was just going up and down my stairs for 30 minutes, and but that to me is like, I've always, and then, I attended my worship service online. And so whether if I don't get to, listen to a service or listen to a Bible study, or I'm doing something, it's like mind, body, soul before I head out the door. So that's my thing. Either I start off with a prayer, I do some kind of exercise, something for myself. And then I feel like, okay, I'm ready to give to everyone else, right? And so, and then you asked me something the other day, and it was, I get sleep, because I think that you have to. We have to. That I you for years I undervalued sleep, right? I'm like, oh, I could just keep going. But no, we need that to recharge ourselves. So, sometimes, I think my kids laugh at me. They're like, some days I may be in the bed by 7 o'clock,
Wow.
but I try to make sure that I get that 8 hours of sleep. It's there for a reason, and it makes a difference, right? That's the time when my mind shuts down. And I just get to rest, and I get up and I'm like, okay, we ready for another day.
Yeah.
So
So what is there a
world.
book? Was there a book or quote you'd recommend?
So Psalms 91, I take that with me everywhere. If you do a surprise visit at the ER one day and say, let me see what's in your pocket, Psalms 91 is always with me. It's in my car, in my glove box, because I like I said, I don't take, I love my job. I feel blessed to be able to do what I'm doing. And I can go in there confident because I know that I'm covered. And Psalms 91, that's my protection. It's in God's word. I'm standing on it. So
And then that is
with
wow.
me.
So every person who is listening, they can say, you know what? Let me go grab Psalms 91 right now.
Yes, I tell you, I have at least 7, 8 copies.
Oh my goodness. So anything else you want to share with folks, even just anything that you want to tell, just even in this COVID-19, as we start to look at this conversation and how it unfolds and how it will really help people to think differently, even now. What's that one message that you would want to send to people out there from a medical perspective in terms of lifting their mind to the next level? And anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, no, you know what? I think that, we often say stay safe. I think when I hang up the phone talking to anybody or leave a conversation, I'm always telling people to stay safe. And I really want people to do that. And what that means, what does it mean when someone says stay safe? You know what? I think one of the things, everyone should always have a face covering on when you're going out in the public, because it's not only necessarily protecting others, but it's protecting others from you. And so, you know, what we're learning about this disease is that there's so many atypical symptoms, right? So you can't, not everybody's going to present with the fever, cough, shortness of breath. Our older seniors may just present with, dizziness, loss of appetite. And so, you have to really just be mindful. And I think that, this is, social distancing is working. I know it is so hard to just be in the house, but you know what, you are saving lives. And so I would just tell everybody, stay on the path, keep doing, staying in the house, you know, until we'll get through this, but we need everybody to really stay safe. And the best way to stay safe is to stay indoors until, if you go out, make sure you cover your face, wash your hands.
Wow. And I guess I would just add to that and make sure you keep Psalms 91 close to you, right?
Oh yeah, that's a given.
Wow. Well, I know you're so busy, but I want to just say to you, thank you. You could have been anywhere else, but you just chosen to spend this time with me and just help
Thank
me
you
to.
so much for the invitation.
And so, folks, you've just heard it from Dr. Heather Marie Prendergast, and she's at the University of Illinois Hospital. And if you ever go to the hospital, just knock on her door, right? Or just wave to her. But certainly, we have just heard some lessons here from people who know best. And so, Dr. Marie, I just want to say to you, thank you for what you do. Thank you for saving lives, because I know you've seen lives go, just come and go all day long. But thank you for that. Truly, your hard work is not in vain. Your sacrifice is not in vain. You've talked about how you can feel the blessing of God on you, and I can see it on you. I can see it all over you, right? You look amazing. So thank you for those words of wisdom. And definitely, folks, as you go through your life, just think about these words from Dr. Marie. Think about this conversation. And I do hope that as The purpose of the show is always to add value, enhance lives, and maximize potential. And you've heard it. So thank you again for joining us on here. And my name is Sharon Johnson. You can always find me at Comtivate or my name, drsharonjohnson.net. Get a chance, go over to the online university. This conversation will be there. You'll be able to see this conversation, all the other conversations. You'll be able to experience those free classes. And while we're just living our life through COVID-19, keep that Psalms beside you and with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you again and again. Thanks for being on the show.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.